Around year minus 250. The Queendom of Falena is said to have been founded around this time, though no historical records exist to verify the claim. Year minus 2. The hero Hikusak overthrows the Kingdom of Aronia and founds the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia. Year 1. Hikusak begins his rule as High Priest, initiating a theocratic government. This year is designated as Year 1 of the solar calendar. Around year 20, Clift the Crusader founds the Warriors' Village. In accordance with his teachings, many customs are passed down through the generations, such as the ritual journey of manhood. Around year 70, the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia massacres the Gate Rune clan. In the aftermath, Windy and Leknat split the Gate Rune into the back and front halves and flee. Year 78. Necklord steals the Moon Rune from the village of the Blue Moon. With the loss of the rune's protection, the village is destroyed. Around year 80. The Great Contract is established in the Great Forest, defining territorial borders between humans, dwarves, elves, and kobolds. To keep humans out, the 6 sages of the forest cast a magical barrier at the entrance to the Forest of Moran. Year 110. The Kingdom of Dunan is founded with South Window as its capital. The first king is Bernand. Around year 140. Outside of Falena, in the eastern region of the southern continent where various clans vied for dominance, Balad, chief of the Ishvak clan, one of the 5 major tribes, raises an army in an effort to unify the region. Falena, hoping this will help stabilize the region, offer him support. After over a decade of conflict, Balad defeats the rival clans and proclaims himself the founding king of a new nation. However, relations with Falena quickly deteriorate when he names it the New Arms Kingdom. Around year 150, Windy attacks the village of the Hidden Rune, and Ted inherits the Soul Eater. Year 185. The city of Muse is established as a self-governing city under a mayoral system, with Revier serving as its first mayor. However, because their border to Dunan is not clearly defined, conflicts break out frequently. Year 212. A bicameral Congress is established in Two River, which begins governing the surrounding region. Princess Korshed of the Queendom of Falena declares that the capital will be relocated from Stormfist to Sol Falena. She designates this year as the first year of the Korshed calendar, more commonly known as the New Capital Calendar. Year 230. Taking advantage of a civil war within the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia, the Scarlet Moon Empire declared its independence and occupied the holy city of Rupanda. The first emperor was Cranach Rugner, known as the Knight of the Scarlet Moon. At this time, the sovereign rune also came into the possession of the Rugner family. In recognition of his contributions to the empire's founding, Julian Silverberg was appointed as the official military strategist of the Scarlet Moon Empire, and the name Silverberg became widely known. The holy city of Rupanda was subsequently renamed Gregminster. Year 237. After suppressing a civil war in Harmonia, Maru Blight is granted his own territory and founds the Kingdom of Highland. The newly formed Highland bestows the title of king upon the Blight royal family, recognizing them as guardians of the faith. Year 252. A civil war breaks out in the Kingdom of Dunan. The rebel faction emerges victorious, leading to the establishment of South Window as a self-governing city under a mayoral system. Taking advantage of the turmoil, Highland launches an invasion of eastern South Window, territory that was, at the time, under the jurisdiction of Muse. Year 280. In order to counter the military strength of Highland, knights from neighboring lords rally together with financial support from the city of Muse, leading to the formation of the Knightly Order of Matilda. Around year 287, Warlock, a magician from Middleport, summons the giant tree and the eye fish from another world, using them as materials in the development of the rune cannons. Around the same time, Jan appears before Walter, an intelligence agent working on behalf of the Scarlet Moon Empire. Year 292. The Queen of Obel uses the Rune of Punishment to protect her children during a pirate attack. Following the incident, the Rune of Punishment disappears. Year 294. The Knightly Order of Matilda gains autonomy and becomes independent from the city of Muse. An agreement is made to exchange lands held by knights within Muse territory for equivalent lands within the domain of the Knightly Order. Year 299. A maritime accident this year results in the Rune of Punishment passing to Rocky's father. It is later inherited by Graham Cray, former vice tactician under Eleanor Silverberg in the Scarlet Moon Empire. In an attempt to escape the rune's control, Cray cuts off his own left arm. The rune would then transfer to his son, who becomes involved in a human hunting incident and is forced to use its power. Following a series of events, the Rune of Punishment is eventually inherited by the pirate Brando. Year 302. War breaks out in the island nations over the Rune of Punishment, one of the 27 true runes. Year 307. Lino N. Kuldes becomes the first representative of the Island Nations Federation. Year 314. The cities of Muse, South Window, and Two River, along with the Knightly Order of Matilda, join together to form the Joustin City-States Alliance. The alliance takes its name from Joustin Hill, where the pact was signed. Around year 330. The Nagaria Theocracy is believed to have been established around this time, though details remain unclear. Year 337. Queen Elmalark of Falena initiates trade relations with the Island Nations Federation. Year 340. Crowley and Mayfers engage in a magical duel. Year 347. The Scarlet Moon Empire's Saunier prison is completed. Around year 360. Around this time, the Nagaria Theocracy begins plotting an invasion of the Queendom of Falena, dispatching an armed missionary force. The Queendom's army joins forces with the Dragon Horse people to repel them. Following the conflict, the Dragon Horse people are formally organized into the Fatus Dragon Cavalry. Year 362. Grand Leaf Academy is founded in the city of Greenhill under the jurisdiction of Muse at the time. Its founder is Alan Wisemail. Year 365. The Palace of La Renouille undergoes renovation. Year 366. The city of Tinto is established by the autonomous Tinto Mining Guild and joins the Joustin City-States Alliance. Year 370. Scarletitia Castle is completed. Year 373. The city of Greenhill, formerly part of Muse territory, asserts its autonomy in pursuit of academic independence, with the Grand Leaf Academy at its center. Uriah, the mayor of Muse, formally recognizes Greenhill's independence. Year 376. A massive earthquake strikes near the border between Falena and Nagaria. The tremor is so powerful that it causes an entire mountain to collapse, destroying the only land route connecting the two nations, making travel between them impossible. Strangely, despite their proximity to the epicenter, Saronics Castle and Gordius suffer almost no damage. Following the quake, the Nagaria Theocracy halts its campaigns of armed missionary forces and enters a state of self-imposed isolation. Year 378. With the transfer of all administrative functions from Muse to Greenhill completed, the city of Greenhill is formally admitted into the Joustin City-States Alliance. Year 392. Reforms are implemented at the Grand Leaf Academy. The position of headmaster, previously hereditary within the Wisemale family, will now be elected by the student body, though the school board nominates the candidates. As part of the reform, the school is renamed the New Leaf Academy. Year 407. The Firebringers, a force led by the Flame Champion, emerge in the Grasslands. They cross the border and make an incursion into Harmonian territory. Moravia Castle is completed in the Scarlet Moon Empire. Year 411. A punitive force is dispatched to confront the Firebringers, who have been striking towns and villages within Harmonian territory using guerrilla tactics. Though the Harmonian regular army initially held the advantage, they were drawn into the mountains, where their communications were severed and the whole force was ultimately annihilated. Year 415. The Firebringers successfully infiltrate the One Temple and steal the True Water rune held within. Year 416. Harmonia invades the Grasslands, abducting 5,000 people. Year 417. The Harmonian army demands that the Flame Champion surrenders in exchange for the 5,000 prisoners. The Grassland forces, along with the third-class citizens who have rebelled against Harmonia, urge him to refuse. However, the Flame Champion complies and is captured by the Harmonian army. Year 419. Grassland forces and Harmonian rebels engage in a decisive battle against the Harmonian regular army. However, without the Firebringers, the rebels lack coordination, and the battle ends in a resounding victory for the regular army. In the aftermath, the clans and towns that had joined the rebellion are burned to the ground, and many of their people are reduced to slavery. Year 420. The Zexen Federation is founded under a parliamentary system, centered around Vinay del Zex, a city that achieved independent prosperity as a commercial hub. At the same time, the Zexen Knights are established, formed primarily from Vinay del Zex's existing self-defense forces. Year 421. Territorial disputes spark conflict between Zexen and the various Grassland clans, leading to recurring skirmishes. The Flame Champion succeeds in escaping from Crystal Valley, reportedly with the help of members of the Firebringers. Year 422. Brass Castle is completed in the Zexen Federation and becomes the headquarters of the Zexen Knights. The Firebringers, together with Grassland forces under Harmonian rule, call for the independence of the Grasslands, resulting in a major clash with the Harmonian regional army. During the battle, a mysterious explosion occurs, wiping out the entire Harmonian force. The ensuing blaze is said to have burned for 3 days, and burned so bright that it turned night into day. The Grasslands forces also suffer heavy casualties. Year 423. The Zexen Federation Free Merchants Guild is established. Around year 425, the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia launches a full-scale invasion of the Grasslands. In response, the Grassland clans, united under the Flame Champion, band together and successfully repel the invasion. Following the battle, a 50-year non-aggression pact is signed between Harmonia, the Firebringers, and the Grassland clans. At the same time, the 6 clans of the Grasslands, who had been at the center of the conflict, enter into an agreement of mutual defense against future external threats. Additionally, a separate declaration of cessation of hostilities is made between the Flame Champion and Harmonia, resulting in a second treaty in which Budahuk Castle is designated as jointly held territory between Zexen and the Grasslands. This leads to a treaty between Zexen and the Grasslands, formally establishing their respective borders and restoring peace between them. Year 428. Under the authority of King Robert Blight, the Highland Kingdom Army, led by Commander Han Cunningham, invades the territory of the Joustin City-States Alliance. Daryl, mayor of Muse, flees to South Window. Genkaku begins organizing a resistance movement with the remnants of the Muse City forces. Year 430. In response to the Firebringers incident, the Harmonian army establishes the Frontier Defense Force. The Flame Champion disappears from historical records, and the members of the Firebringers disperse. Year 431. In the shadows, a battle over the right of succession begins in the Queendom of Falena. Year 432. Led by Genkaku, the Joustin City-States Alliance launches a major offensive, successfully reclaiming both the city of Greenhill and the territory of the Order of Matilda. That same year, Genkaku arranges for the purchase of land on an island within the city of Two River on behalf of the Winged Horde, who had lost their settlement in Tinto territory. Although the acquisition was approved by the Hilltop Conference, the Alliance's highest council, Genkaku incurs the displeasure of Muse's mayor, Daryl, as the purchase was financed using the Alliance's military budget. Year 433. The Sacred Games are held in the Queendom of Falena to choose a husband for Princess Arshtat. However, contrary to expectations, the winner is not a gladiator representing one of the noble houses, but an unknown warrior named Ferid. Year 434. A truce is brokered between Genkaku, Supreme Commander of the Alliance Forces, and Han Cunningham, Commander of the 1st Royal Army of Highland. However, a dispute breaks out over the ownership of a small region in Eastern Highland. To resolve the conflict, Genkaku and Han engage in a one-on-one duel. However, due to the schemes of Daryl, Genkaku is defeated without striking a single blow and is subsequently exiled from the Joustin City-States Alliance. Year 438. Following an incident in which several gladiators escape, the abuse and trafficking of slave gladiators becomes increasingly widespread. Soon after, Queen Olazeta passes away. The battle over the throne between Sharawar and Falzrum intensifies, pushing the Queendom of Falena to the brink of civil war. Numerous prominent figures are assassinated, including Mardus and Rosalind of the Godwin family, and Kaus and Hiram of the Barrows family. Year 439. Worn down by the fighting, Sharawar surrenders her claim to the throne to Falzrum. The new queen's first official act is to have her sister and all her immediate relatives executed. Year 441. Arshtat becomes queen when Falzrum suddenly dies. Ceolides breaks off her engagement with Gazelle, a decision that would later lead to conflict. The same year, the New Arms Kingdom launches a large-scale invasion of Falena but suffers a crushing defeat, thanks to the cunning strategies of tactician Lucretia and the efforts of Ferid, commander of the Queen's Knights, on the front lines. Following the failed campaign, the hardline king from the Darja clan is deposed, and Jalat of the Ishvak clan takes the throne of the New Arms Kingdom. Year 443. An incident occurs near the Highland border in which the royal family's entourage is attacked by a band of outlaws. Though officially attributed to bandits, the attackers' high level of training and well-equipped arms lead many to suspect that the assault was orchestrated by the city of Muse. Year 446. While the heir to the throne, Barbarossa Rugner, was away on a pilgrimage to pray for a bountiful harvest, his uncle, Gael Rugner, launched a legal challenge to disinherit him, triggering the War of Succession. With the support of Leon Silverberg, as well as other members of the Silverberg family, and the future 6 great generals of the empire, Barbarossa would emerge victorious. Following the war, Georg Prime, one of the 6 generals, left the empire, stating that he had fulfilled his duty. Year 447. The Southern Alliance forces, led primarily by Tinto, launch an invasion of the Scarlet Moon Empire during the chaos of the Empire's civil war. However, they are repelled by Emperor Barbarossa, having reclaimed the throne, alongside the 6 great imperial generals and strategist Leon Silverberg. This invasion takes place concurrently with the Empire's War of Succession. Marskal Godwin discovers an ancient Sindar ruin in the Ashtwal Mountains. About 6 months later, riots break out in the Lord Lake region. A mob manages to reach the Eastern Palace and the Dawn Rune. One of the runes passed down in the Falenan royal family goes missing. In response to the incident, Queen Arshtat decides to bear the Sun Rune and devastates the Lord Lake region with its power. Year 448. The Kaleka Massacre occurs. Following the incident, Vice Strategist Matthew Silverberg resigns from the Imperial Army. Year 449 to 450. In a coup d'etat by the influential Godwin family, Queen Arshtat is assassinated and the primary heir Limslea is taken hostage. A royalist force led by the prince, strategist Lucretia, and Queen's Knight Georg is assembled to reclaim the capital, rescue the princess, and defeat Marskal Godwin, the mastermind behind the coup. Following the war, the Queendom of Falena transitions from a traditional aristocratic senate to governance by a citizens' assembly under Queen Limslea. The village of North Window is destroyed by Necklord. Year 453. A small village on the outskirts of the Scarlet Moon Empire is attacked by unknown assailants seeking the Rune of Change. The same year, the Liberation Army is formed under the leadership of Odessa Silverberg, marking the beginning of the Gate Rune War, also known as the Liberation War. Year 455. The Imperial Army raids one of the Liberation Army's hideouts, resulting in its destruction and the death of Odessa Silverberg. However, the Liberation Army is reformed under new leadership. Year 456. As part of a strategy devised by the Liberation Army's strategist Matthew Silverberg, a combined force from Tinto and South Window occupies the northern region of the Empire. Year 457. Under the leadership of the eldest son of the MacDowell family, the Liberation Army achieves victory. The Scarlet Moon Empire falls, and the Toran Republic is established in its place, and Lepant is inaugurated as the first president. Year 458. The Toran Republic, established following the fall of the Scarlet Moon Empire, begins its campaign to reclaim the northern territories. This effort is led by its first president, Lepant, along with Republican Army commanders Kwanda Rosman, Qasim Hazel, and Sonia Shulin. Early in the conflict, the South Window forces suffer a defeat and are forced to retreat, which sparks tensions between South Window and Tinto. Taking advantage of this discord, the Kingdom of Highland increases its border activities. Year 460. The Dunan Unification War breaks out when Luca Blight, Prince of the Kingdom of Highland, launches an invasion of the Joustin City-States Alliance. In response, the son of Genkaku forms the New Alliance Army, uniting the cities of the Alliance and leading them to victory against Highland. The Kingdom of Highland is destroyed, and in the same year, the Dunan Republic is founded. Although the son of Genkaku was meant to become the new republic's first president, he vanishes at the moment of its founding. Instead, Teresa, mayor of Greenhill, assumes office as acting president while retaining her mayoral duties. The Karaya clan, one of the 6 clans of the Grasslands, also joined the conflict on the side of Highland at their request. Year 461. Following an election by representatives of each city, Teresa is officially elected as president of the Dunan Republic. At the same time, Shu, who held the position of chief military strategist, announces his retirement. He is succeeded by Klaus. Having heard rumors from Leknot, Luke travels to Crystal Valley alone and returns with Sarah. Year 465. The Zexen Federation lays claim to part of grassland territory, reigniting hostilities between Zexen and the Grasslands. Year 467. An armistice is signed between the Zexen Federation and representatives of the 6 clans of Grassland. Year 470. Chris and Lily get into a big fight during the ball celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Zexen Federation's founding. Year 471. A Zexen trading caravan is attacked by a group of Lizard Clan members in the Grasslands. A meeting is convened to address the incident, but the Lizard Clan denies responsibility, asserting that the attack is a fabrication by Zexen aimed at territorial expansion. With negotiations breaking down, hostilities resume. Year 472. The Frontier Defense Force of the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia launches an invasion aimed at reclaiming the Highland region. However, fierce resistance from the Dunan Republic and civil unrest at home caused the campaign to fail. As small-scale riots erupt in the eastern region of the Dunan Republic, within the former Highland territory, General Sadram, commander of the Harmonian Frontier Defense Force, seizes upon this unrest and initiates an unauthorized invasion of Dunan without consulting Crystal Valley. In response, President Teresa dispatches General Boris and Klaus to counter the invasion. It is said that among their forces were veterans who had previously fought with the New Alliance Army. The desperate defense lasts 6 months, ending only when Harmonia's central authority reprimands General Sadram for exceeding his mandate and orders a halt to the fighting. Year 473. Hostilities between Zexen and the Grasslands intensify. Year 475. Galahad, captain of the Zexen Knights, falls in battle against the Grasslands, and Chris Lightfellow is appointed acting captain. The hero's war begins in the Grasslands, a conflict centered around the 5 true elemental runes: